You are listening to the Prosperous Law Podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosperous Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. Hi, Greg McCollum here with another edition of Prosperous Law Podcast. Today's topic is very similar, the same as the last podcast video. So you want to start a law firm. You want to start your own law firm, and that means you're in one of three categories. Either you're starting from scratch, and so you want to do it right the first time and not make all the mistakes that people made, certainly the mistakes I made. Or you started it a while back. You started it 10 years ago or 15 years ago or maybe longer, and it's a burnout grind, and you're ready to take your law firm and turn it into a business that actually serves you instead of, enslaves you and controls you. Or you're in private practice and you work for someone else and you're tired of working for somebody else. You don't necessarily agree with the direction of the company. You don't agree with some of the cases you have to take. You want some freedom, and so you want to go out and start your own law firm. So whichever one you are, a lot of the processes are going to be about the same. Like, for instance, when I left the DA's office and I was doing criminal defense, what did I need? I really didn't need anything. The most important thing I needed was to be able to stand up in court and defend somebody. And I knew how to do that. And I needed some suits, right? And some shirts and ties and shoes. I had that, all right? Literally. I needed a law license. I had a law license. So I had what I needed. So what I didn't have, because I had never been in private practice, I hadn't been in private practice a day in my life. And so what did I need? I didn't need much. I needed a notice of representation where back then you just sent a letter advising the court or the prosecutor, whichever one it was, please be advised we've been retained by John Smith to defend him on the charge of blah, blah, blah. So that was easy enough. And then I needed a discovery motion. Well, mostly the discovery motions are just all boilerplate language. They're not all exactly the same, but they're pretty much the same, and they cite the same authority. And so I had samples of that because I had been receiving them from lawyers, for 5 years. So I just looked at the ones that were good from the best lawyers and said, made some copies of those so I could use that as my starting point. And so then I needed, a retainer letter or retainer contract for the clients to sign and saying that I'm going to represent them, right? And so that's it. That's pretty much it. That's all you really needed then, and it's all you really need now. Now, there's more you can do and there's more you should do, and I did a little bit more and said then after that, what else do you need? You really, in my mind, you need an office. If you're going to attract clients, if you're going to have people put their trust in you and hire you, at some point, you got to meet with them. Some lawyers I know, they just meet them at the courthouse. And I met people at the courthouse too, and I had to talk to people at the courthouse, and I pretty much quit doing it. In terms of talking about their case, they have these little uncomfortable rooms, outside the courtroom where you can go in there and talk, but it's not good. People knocking on the door, it's uncomfortable. It's just a room, it's an ugly room, a small room with a table, and it's just not good. If I'm going to meet with a client, I want to meet with them in a peaceful setting that makes them feel comfortable. If they come into my office, I want them sitting at the nice table with a nice chandelier, with our big, sign on the wall that's 4 feet wide that says "Complete Legal Defense Team. We defend the accused who have a lot to lose," and the nice windows and with the window treatment, and then a gigantic, flat screen TV up there that has our logo on it, or there's a video about us playing, and then we've got the nice little mints or whatever on the table, and then we got our branded pins, that say "Complete Legal Defense Team," and they bring them some water, it says, "Complete Legal Defense Team." So I want them to have that experience. Now I know lawyers that just, we call it practicing with a cell phone, where they I guess they Zoom with people. They got a little office set up, and they don't spend any money on an office. And I get that, but I think that's going to limit your fees. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's got actually 2 offices, big offices, but in another market. This comes up in another market. Like if you move into a market that's drivable from where you are, what do you have to have? And in this situation, somebody was getting ready to pay, I can't remember, $70,000-$80,000 on a sex crime, and we had the discussion because he was going to close that location. And I said to him, listen, if somebody's paying you $80,000 for a sex crime, and you're going to defend them, you got to have an office. You can't just talk to them at the courthouse. You, in my opinion, you have to have an office. So for other things, and it depends on the client. If it's a DUI or something, certainly a lot of the cases they hire us on DUIs. Sometimes, we may literally maybe never even meet the client. They're from out of town. They live several hours from Myrtle Beach. They retain us. We do everything. We talk to them on the phone. Maybe we Zoom with them if they want to Zoom. We go to the roster meeting. We do their administrative hearing for them, which there's really, in our jurisdiction, that's just technical hearing. Than having somebody there to testify is not necessary and may actually be harmful. So then court comes up and the case is, quote, being scheduled. It's kind of a phantom court date just to get everybody there to talk. And then we're getting the case dismissed, and they're going to get a rewrite to a ticket for reckless driving. And that's the end of it. So that client, those kind of cases, certainly they probably, don't even want to come in. A lot of people don't want to come to the office, but I think at a certain level, you got to meet. Certainly if you do in, like federal court, and I'm not talking about street crimes, but white collar stuff where you're defending business people and you got all these documents to go through and all that stuff, then yeah, you need a space. These people are business people. They're used to walking into businesses. They're used to their business. They're used to going and meeting with the bank in a nice setting. So I think that's a consideration. Now, do you need the office right away? Maybe not. I don't know. If you go into a professional space, then if you're trying to get found in terms of like you want to do a search engine optimization so that you move up and try to get in the 3-pack. If you go into a office share arrangement like Regis, I think, is a national company, and you have all these other things, we have all these different lawyers in there. It's not 100% certainty, but there's a strong likelihood Google's going to knock you out. We had that happen where we were in a nice office building outside of Charleston, and I loved the office, and we had worked and gotten our Google Pen. We were moving up, and we just got blacked out. We lost all our reviews. Our site was suspended. I worked with different people that are experts in the field. Never got it back. We ended up moving to another location and started over from scratch. So that's a consideration. At the same time, if you can get in an office that's not expensive and they have a receptionist, the Google thing can wait, because if you're in there for a year or two before you move into a nicer office, that's fine. You can get the phone to ring with paid ad anyway, and Google's will run your paid ad. They don't care about the location on that unless somebody knows something different. So the things you need to know about are think a little bit, and this is hard to do in the beginning, but think about who, not how. Who, not how. So, and also think about your daily rate and your hourly rate. Because if you can pay somebody to do something that's less than your hourly rate, then it's smart to have competent people do that work. And when I'm talking about your hourly rate, I'm not talking about an hourly billing rate. I'm talking about, what are you worth? What is your time worth? And the way you calculate that is you take how much money do you make in a year, and you can divide it by 52 weeks, but most people say divide it by 46 weeks, or certainly 48 weeks, because there's this many days built into the calendar as holidays. Most people are going to be on vacation for a week or two over the course of a year. Even if they don't go take a 2-week vacation, there are going to be some vacation days. People have commitments where a friend gets sick and you take them to the hospital or go visit them, or you need to go visit your family members. You need to go to your kids' school play. There's going to be time. So people say, so divide by 46. You can divide by 48 if you want to. So you take all the money you make, okay, what do you make, divide it by 46, and then divide that by 40 hours a week. Now, if you work 60 hours a week, you divide it by 60. If you work 30, you can divide it by 30, but I'd say just divide it by 40. It's not an exact number. You just want to know what you're worth. So I think in my situation, if I look at all the money I bring in, I think that my hourly rate, I think it's about $770 an hour. In other words, that's how much money I can make. So I need to be doing things that only I can do. If I shouldn't be, and this is personal life, I shouldn't be going to the grocery store. I shouldn't be going to Costco because I'm worth $770 an hour. I can get somebody to do that for me. I shouldn't be mowing my own lawn because I'm worth $770. I shouldn't be going to the dry cleaner because my time's worth $770. So if you're making $100,000, $60,000, I can't do the math right now, or I won't do it. You can do it. You just divide it. Most people's hourly rate is going to be higher than the people that you would pay to do the work. So, think in those terms. And when I first heard this, I thought the people that told me this were just crazy, because I thought, just because you say my time is valuable and I save money by washing my car and not paying somebody $50 to wash my car, that doesn't save money, because I didn't understand it. Now, I understand it now, and other people say, well, you have to make money to get to that part. Well, not really. You get to that part by offloading things and getting people who can do it, who already know how to do it. Take bookkeeping for an example, okay? Now, I'm a terrible bookkeeper. I don't like it. I make mistakes. I don't understand it, okay? So the bookkeeper, and he or she may charge, $40, $50, $60 an hour, whatever they charge, it's worth it. And they know what they're doing. And then that gets done properly, and that's done. That's what you want to think. So in terms of a business, what is a business? All businesses are basically the same. And think in terms of this. You have marketing, okay? Some kind of marketing to bring in some business. After marketing, you have sales, okay? You market to people, but then somebody has to have a sales conversation. There has to be some conversion. So once you have the sale, then there's work to be done. So either you're going to do all the work yourself, which you do a lot of that when you start. Then so people, it could be just you when you start. And a lot of times when people start, it's just them. And that makes some sense. Then you have how you do things. And what you want to do is not do, like every time you do something, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You want to have a way that all notices of representation look like this. All client retainers look like this. All fee agreements and fee schedules look like this. All how do you answer the phone and what do you do when a client comes into the office in terms of not letting them sit in the waiting room too long, putting them in the conference room, making sure the conference room is clean and tidy, asking them if they want water or soda or something, and then write that down. So when somebody's working for you and they're hired, go through that in writing, okay, and say, this is the way I want you to do it. Now, they may think it's stupid. They may think it's unnecessary. They may not do it. When they don't do it, then not while they're screwing it up, but at a later time, call them into your office, go through it. Do you remember we went over this? This is the way I want you to do it. Do you have any issues or problems with doing this? And then I noticed that you were doing this every time. Can you tell me why? Blah, blah, blah. But then ultimately, do you have any questions? Do you understand this is the way I want you to do it? I want you to do it every time. And then have them sign it and date it. Now, eventually, they're either going to do it or they got to go because they have to follow your system. And you do everything like that. That's your system. That's your process. You can't just make this up and do it different every time. You want consistency. You want everything to be the same. You know, when I get the hamburger special at McDonald's, you know, I think number 7 or whatever it is, it's the same every time. It's the same. You want this experience to be the same, and you want the people doing it to understand that. Now later, you know, you can revise it. You're going to have to revise everything over time. Nothing lasts forever, and there are always new ideas. And if they got a better idea, then, you know, I would listen to it. But that's your system. That's your factory. That's how you make the widgets. Beyond that, and I started out talking about this, is a physical space. You know, where are you? What does it look like? Who is it designed to attract? Who feels comfortable in there? Okay, the physical space. And then you have, you know, your numbers that you want to track. And you're starting off with, you know, how much money do you make and how much are your bills? Are you making a profit? So that's just 101 basic stuff. Now, ultimately, you want to track other things. You want to track, you know, how many phone calls or, you know, email submissions do you get a week? So somebody has to keep up with that. So how many potential new clients call you every week and every month? A lot of people measure that monthly. I measure it weekly. I like weekly. I see it every week. So I know if our business is growing or if my business is not growing. I know if I'm going up or down, and I know how much I'm going up or down because we're going to measure, and there's more than that than I can even describe here. So we're measuring that. And so we know that. And so that's pretty much it, okay? Obviously, you're going to start small. You're not you're not funded by private equity probably. You're not going to build out and start with 5 lawyers and 20 support staff and $200,000 monthly marketing budget. You're not going to do anything like that. You're going to start small and it's going to grow, and you want to tell people what you do. Most people use networking. It's important too, to learn how to network, and not this coach of mine used to call it net-socializing, where people just went and talked to all their competitors and then went home and felt like they had networked. That's not networking. Networking is when you basically listen to people. So you go to a Chamber of Commerce event, you introduce yourself, you ask them a question. If you don't know what to say, there's an acronym for this. I think Bob Berg teaches this, and it's called FORM. So if you can't remember it, it's FORM. Do the FORM. Don't just go there and talk about yourself. Ask them questions. And FORM stands for family, occupation, recreation, and mission. So you go there and ask about their family, their occupation, their recreation, or their mission. And if one of those things is a dud, like you talk to somebody and you ask them how their family is, and they tell you their family all just died in a crash, maybe switch to occupation or recreation, or maybe that person just shouldn't be out, and that's not somebody you can network with. But that's what you want to do. If you listen to somebody talk, and this is so amazing when this happens, is maybe they do 80% of the talking, and you're really listening and maybe interjecting something. What happens, they go home and say, I just met this great conversationalist. This Greg McCollum is so interesting. He's such a good conversationalist. I love talking to him, because people want to talk about their favorite subject, themselves. So that's networking. It's work, not play. If you want to play, go out with your friends and do that, but don't consider that working, and know that that's just one thing. That's just networking. So anyway, I could go a lot further and deeper into that, but it looks like we're out of time. Thank you for listening. At Prosper at Law, we're a mindset and business coaching company for criminal defense lawyers. Our niche is criminal defense. That's who we do masterminds for. That's who we do coaching for. That's who we do events for. That's our niche. Those are the people that we help. So you could be starting a law firm from scratch. You could be leaving a law firm that you're no longer happy working at, or you could be, a 25-year burnout case and you want to improve your life. If you're in one of those categories and you're starting a law firm and you need advice or help, reach out to us. You can go to prosperatlaw.com to get the answers that you need. Thanks for listening.
If you want to know more, go to prosperatlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.